Hello, my name's James Conrad, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to the 70-646 series from CBT Nuggets. I got to tell you, this exam topic that we're taking a look at here, if you look at Microsoft's website for this particular exam, it doesn't look like there's that much text there, that much exam objectives. So it doesn't seem like it'd be that much, but in fact, it really covers a large scope of server technology here. So you're really going to have to kind of become a jack of all trades, so to speak, when it comes to learning what you need to know for this particular exam's objectives, because it seems to cover just a little bit of everything. Now the main point of this, by the way, as well, is not that you have to know in extremely verbose detail about every single tool and administrative function that you can do. A big part of this kind of an exam is really more for identifying the right tool for the job. So just know which technology is necessary to get the job done. You don't have to memorize every dialog box and checkbox and every wizard and all of that. Although I will show you that in a lot of the different topics, just because I think it's useful information for one thing, but also because some of the topics I don't think as many administrators have much experience in. For example, I'm a little bit more detailed with certificate authorities because in most organizations there's only a handful of admins who mess with certificates at all, and most other admins never mess with them. So we'll go into some more detail about some of those things. I also talked about installation and upgrades, and I do go into some more detail about this as well because there's new methods for performing installations, especially automated server deployments. It's actually easier than it looks. When you first look at it, it seems kind of, wow, there's a lot of baffling stuff there. Once you kind of get used to it, it's not so bad, though. It's actually a pretty good product. Also, we'll take a look at activation. This is something you got to make sure that you do right. Otherwise, a server somewhere is going to just stop functioning properly for you. And you need to make sure that they get properly activated. There's also some good methods for doing this in a corporate environment so that you don't have to individually activate each individual client. So it's pretty automated or partially automated in certain ways. Other things we'll talk about here for this exam topic is IP version 6 that does appear here. Once again, I don't think you're going to need to know extreme detail about it, but do need to know some of the overall overarching principles of it and some of the ways that are necessary to make it interoperate with IP version 4. DHCP, DNS, some of the main services and functions of those two servers that we see there. Read-only domain controllers, that's something that's new with Windows Server 2008. So I'll spend a little bit more time on that, but that certainly is something that is a very good feature that 2008 gives us. And this basically gives us the ability to put up a domain controller that cannot be modified. It's only a read-only copy. There's also certificate authorities. I mentioned earlier that I'm going to cover that in a little bit more detail because not a lot of administrators are used to working with certificates. Also with this exam objectives, we'll be taking a look at routing and remote access and network access protection. Now, routing and remote access is not new with Windows Server 2008, but the interface changes are pretty dramatic, and the network access protection is new with Windows Server 2008, at least in the form that it appears now. This can be quite complex, so I'm going to go into some detail with this as well so that you have an overall understanding of how that works. But again, you don't need to memorize every radio button and checkbox. You do need to understand its main purpose and how it works. We'll take a look also at application servers and services and make sure that those are up and running properly. Need to make sure that we have our applications properly deployed, for example. And then we'll also take a look at the various file roles, such as how to perform certain kinds of protections on your servers. You know, everything from NTFS and share permissions to EFS and other methods there as well. We'll take a look at backup and recovery. This certainly is one of the first things you should do with a server because you want to get it backed up as you go. That way, if a problem comes up or something fails, you can always recover to a certain point. And then we'll take a look at storage mediums, such as various technologies, such as network attached storage and SANs and iSCSI and things like this, and also print servers. And then finally, as we conclude here, we're going to be taking a look at several other topics, including server management. A key thing there needs to be identifying who can be an administrator of different kinds of servers. For example, with a read-only domain controller, you can set up different administrators than you would for the rest of your domain for that. We'll take a look at that. It's called administrator role separation. There's also remote management. This is going to be very important as well, because especially in larger enterprises, administrators seldom, if ever, actually visit the servers that they administer. They're usually in some cubicle somewhere, running them all remotely. We'll also take a look at group policy objects as an excellent way of being able to manage what your users can see and do, as well as configuring security for your environment. And we'll take a look at monitoring as well. It's very important to understand what's going on and where and when. A big part of that will also involve System Center Operations Manager, and you will have to have some knowledge of the System Center family of products with this particular exam series, I would guess. Also, you're going to have to work with security. That's obviously a big topic in any environment nowadays. And that can cover a variety of topics, including things such as Radius, which would allow us to consolidate and collect all of the attempts at accessing our network. We'll also finally conclude with high availability for your servers. I mean, it's very important for your servers to continue to become available, so that if a server fails, you'll have another server that can more or less take its place and continue to provide service for your users. Well, I hope you really enjoy this series. I really enjoyed making it. I want to thank you also for your patience. I know a lot of you have been waiting eagerly for this particular series, and I've really enjoyed making it, and I know that you'll enjoy watching it. So with that, let's go ahead and get